We do want to bring on, we've been promoting here on social media. We've got Justin Cohn, the communications director from Fort Wayne FC, is backstage. We'll bring him on here in just a moment and to talk a little bit about what they're doing behind the scenes and the ticket sales that they've got coming up here. So if you've got questions for Justin, go ahead and throw those in the chat and we'll just keep on rolling. Let's bring him on here. There we go. Let me get this situated. Justin, welcome to Fort Wayne Footy, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
For sure. You sound like a pro podcaster there. And you have some experience in this, don't you?
I have a little bit of experience. Yeah, I had a couple of podcasts in a former life. Yes. So
yeah,
you still see my old Detroit sports background up there from that.
Oh, man. Okay, so we were just talking before the show. I don't know if you were on yet or not. Football is a little different story, but when we go to Michigan, when we go to Detroit specifically to play soccer, I am not a fan, man. I'm not a fan of those teams, the Detroit teams.
Oh, okay. Well, you can. I thought you were saying you're not a fan of Detroit. I don't mind if you hate the teams because that's just jealousy. But if you start knocking my town, people do that, and they're still like stuck with this vision of Detroit from like 1986, and it's like. Resurgent city. It's wonderful.
Yeah. See, I've been to Detroit, probably closer to 1986. I had a friend who lived there and I actually liked it. It was the one street that they like did all the houses and everything up, and it had been a like drug street or whatever.
The
and
one
like
street where they did all the houses.
They like
this is
8
what I'm
Mile.
talking
He's talking about 8 Mile. Yeah, he's
They did artwork.
Yeah, that's it.
Like
I saw the movie 8 Mile. I know everything about Detroit. Like I hear that a lot.
I thought it was a famous street. I don't know. Maybe they were pulling my leg. Everything's painted up and graffitied and bikes hanging from places. And anyway,
look, I could sum up Detroit and just tell you that there's a resurgent downtown. All the pro sports teams moved back downtown. All of those things happened for a reason. So if you haven't been there recently, you should go because it's totally different.
Yeah, I'll just avoid playing soccer up there while I'm there. Anyway, Detroit aside, Justin, glad to have you on tonight. You've been with the team now this season. I'm curious, you're not new to sports and sports journalism and podcasting and all that. Curious though, like how'd you get connected with Fort Wayne FC from what you were doing before to what you're doing now?
Well, how much time do you have? I mean, it really starts with Scott Sproat, the chief operating officer, because he had been with the hockey team in town. And excuse me. So one of the many hats that I wore at the Journal Gazette was I covered hockey. So I got to know Scott very well. And we become friendly over the years and had always talked about maybe there'd be an opportunity to work together. And obviously he came to Fort Wayne FC well before I did. And, I was one of the people that he brought on board. And, we like to joke that a lot of these hires that we made are sort of an all-star team. I mean, Garrett Martz, our director of corporate partnership, he had been with the Mad Ants basketball team. I knew him very well. Patrick Ventura, who's the director of ticketing, he had been at the Coliseum. So we all knew what he could do. And so we were really excited from the start just to kind of get that crew together. But to answer your question, it really did kind of start with Scott.
Yeah. Micah commented earlier in the show tonight, just the professionalism of the team and the organization and what you guys are doing. And so I know I've mentioned this before. I've got to stop talking about this, but as a Cincinnati soccer fan, the organization that they put together, their front office did something similar, right? They pulled guys from the Bengals and some other local teams to put this team together to really get something off the ground. And so that's my experience there. With a front office that's really pushing to get something going. And so I've respected and admired what you guys have done there this season at Fort Wayne FC with the move that you're looking to make, or you are making in USL1, getting the right people in the right positions in the organization to really go. So that's been fun to watch and see from a distance. So you've covered hockey, you've covered golf, you've covered football. Tell us a little bit about your journalism background before we get too much into your soccer background here.
Yeah, and I do have some soccer stories. So, but yeah, I worked for the newspaper for 28 years. I went to college in Atlanta at Emory, and I had always had some journalism, even in high school and then throughout college. I was on the newspaper there, and even after college, I still wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do. And Long story short, I had a pretty prestigious fellowship, and then kind of went on some job interviews. It still wasn't really looking at sports even at that point. And then it got recommended to me, hey, you should look at sports. You're obviously, a former athlete and some other things. And so I just kind of landed here. I had a job interview for something else here. And while I was in town, the hockey writer got hired by the New York Post. And so I was like, oh, you want me to be your hockey writer? Because that was a sport I had grown up watching. My family's had Red Wings season tickets for 60 plus years. And so I kind of talked him into it. So that was one of the main things I did here. I covered the NFL for about 12 years. So the whole Peyton Manning era, I did 4 Super Bowls and really had kind of a national presence there. And then golf, which was a sport I played at the high level. Golf is huge here. So that was a big part of what I did as well. So I wore a lot of different hats. And it's funny, Tiago was mentioning Indiana Tech, and I teach there. And one of the things I teach is what I do now. So it's sort of funny. I was teaching it before I was actually doing it. But there are a lot of Indiana Tech connections with Fort Wayne FC too. And Tiago is obviously one of them. So that's kind of the abridged background of my journalism career. And, I won't go into all the awards, but there were a lot of them.
So obviously being new to the club, generally new to the sport of soccer, like what is the most unexpected and exciting thing that you've seen or experienced so far this year?
Well, so it's, just not to go off on a tangent, it's kind of a return home for me. Like I did play the sport and I was pretty good growing up. But when I got to high school, I had to make a choice because soccer and golf were the same season in Michigan. So I went golf. I don't know if that was the right choice or not. But my father was a all-city keeper in Philadelphia, and he played for Penn. My brother was teammates with Alexi Lawless in high school. So I have these vague memories of Lawless being this great freshman on the pitch when my brother was starting the opposite side of him as a senior. And then my brother played at Tufts. So I was around the sport growing up, and certainly my family always talking about it. And I covered soccer some through the years. In 97, I covered the women's Olympic team. I'm sorry, 96. So I got the Mia Hamm era and everything there. So it is kind of a return home for me. But the sport has definitely changed a lot through the years, and there's a lot of things that I'm learning. So to answer your question, what's the most surprising thing, I guess? I've been telling the story a lot. Like, everyone is so nice and polite, like the players, the coaches. I mean, yesterday I am at midfield and the players are walking in, and every single one of them walks all the way from the parking lot, all the way to the 50-yard line just to come shake my hand and say hello, and then beeline back to the locker room. And it's not just me, because I'm not that important. They do it with everybody. So everybody's just so nice, like the players. And it did sort of take me aback at the start, because not to say athletes in football and hockey aren't nice, but I wouldn't say they all go out of their way to make a second to just say hello, you're important, and I want you to know that. And then the other thing I noticed is just the walk-ins. The walk-ins are a big deal in soccer. And so now I'm making sure that our photographers get my walk-ins as well.
Yeah, I've seen some of those photos. That's been fun. And those posted on social media. The other thing I was going to say is ice is slippery, man. They're not going to come out to the, center ice without their skates to shake your hand. Like, it's different on a soccer field.
Yeah, I mean, I had a great relationship with all the hockey players. Like, I mean, I knew them intimately well, but it was like, I don't ever remember them like skating over when I was on the bench to say hello. I mean, everything was like through text messages and phone calls. And, I'll admit, I'm the type of guy that walks around with hand sanitizer all the time. So I had to like double up, because every single person in the organization is shaking my hand like every time I see them. But it's great. I mean, it's really, I feel like I know every one of these players on some level, even if I'm not around them all that often.
Yeah. Autumn, he brought up the name Mia Hamm. Do you even remember Mia Hamm? Is that like
Is that
Stating you.
I was like,
Is that even a question for me?
Good. That's what I like to hear.
Oh my goodness. No, yeah, I grew up watching Mia Hamm, loved her, still love her to this day. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll tell you, I mean, covering that gold medal game in '96, and I believe it was in Athens, and I mean, it was just such a huge crowd, and it was, I was covering a bunch of Olympic sports, but to go from covering like, I would cover wrestling one day, or table tennis or something, and then you would go, drive to go cover that, and just to see the atmosphere. And I definitely look back as somebody who has now raised a daughter who played sports for a while, and just to see the impact that games like that had on girls at that time. And I was very just excited that all these opportunities had been opened up by the time I had a daughter who was going to be an athlete, because those things were not there when I was in high school, because I'm old. So I definitely look back fondly at being able to cover that team, even for a short time.
yeah.
Well, Justin, we wanted to shift a little bit our conversation from sports journalism and everything to the team, Fort Wayne FC, and your role and what you're doing there as a communications director. But we started seeing posts about season ticket sales for next season, deposits, opening up July 14th. What can you tell us about the campaign that you guys are starting there with season ticket holders?
Yeah, so on Thursday, we let it be known that on July 14th at 10 a.m., we will begin taking deposits on 2026 season tickets. Obviously, that will be at our new stadium that they're building at Bass Road and I-69, which is Fort Wayne FC Park. So it's important information to know that now is your chance to start getting your place in line for next season in what we think is just going to be an amazing venue. It's going to be the largest outdoor stadium in Northeast Indiana. And one of the things that, if you were a season ticket holder this year, that was one of your perks, that you would be first in line when we got to this point. And so we're continuing to emphasize to all those season ticket holders that even though on July 14th, everybody can start placing deposits, we have your name. We have tracked all the season ticket holders. We have all the information. Don't worry, you are still first in line because you were with us, and we're thankful that you were with us this year. So, but we really encourage everybody to go to our website, fortwaynefc.com. If you go to the top, there's a pull down for season ticket deposit information, and there's FAQs there that should answer all your questions about the process and what it means and why you should get your deposits in sooner than later. And we don't have all the information as to when you're going to be picking your seats and things like that, but rest assured you're gonna know it soon. So we encourage people to make their deposits $25 per seat, and as I said, you can start that on July 14th, and there's going to be a few places that you can actually make that deposit, but the easiest thing to just get out there is just go to fortwaynefc.com, and there will be a button starting on July 14th where you can make the payments.
Is there are season tickets limited on what you guys are planning selling, or is it as many as want, up to the full 8,000 people in the stadium? What's the thought there?
Well, I mean, we don't have a cap on it. The only caveat is, because we will get this question, is can I, as an individual, go in and put a deposit on, say, 50 seats? And the answer is, if you're going to be wanting to put deposits on more than 8 seats, you need to call us. But right now, there's no cap on, we're only taking deposits on X number of seats. I mean, the venue is going to be 9,200 seats. So if you're telling me we're going to get up there, I think that's a good problem to have. Yeah. But right now, no, there's no cap on it.
Love it. So get your deposits in. I'm looking forward to that day, right? We as a team, as a podcast team, are certainly looking at some options there for sure. So,
yeah, and I would just, not to interrupt, but I would just stress, Mark Music, who is the majority owner of the club, I mean, he is putting a lot of work into making sure that this is going to be state of the art. I mean, he is very invested in everything from 14 field level boxes to, I mean, you can go to our website and see some of the renders. And, as the coming weeks and months go on, obviously we will unveil more, but he is passionate about making sure that this is a premier venue. And, I have to stress this just so people continue to understand this is 100% privately funded. There's not one penny coming out of taxes or public money or anything like that. So that means that he can create something really special, and it doesn't cause any problems in the public sphere in terms of costing any of you any money.
Yeah.
Christina says, if you get 9,200 people, season ticket holders, you can call Fort Wayne a soccer town. I think you can call Fort Wayne a soccer town as it is. This is why we're doing what we're doing here. You know that, Christina, and everybody listening. That's why we're doing this. We want to fill that stadium next year. I think, man, on opening day, what a fantastic option and opportunity to get 9,200 people or however many seats are going to be in that stadium and fill the place up. We had a couple questions come in the chat here, and again, we don't know details of what's happening with the construction and all that. One of our listeners, Jordan, says is just asking about the possibility of doing something like a signing of one of the beams that's going up in the structure. Has there been any talk of fan involvement and doing anything like that as the stadium goes up?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing's been finalized, but I can tell you that conversation has been had. What can we do, especially for the people who, are, I'm just going to throw out this term, like, part of a founders club or something like that. So there's nothing set in stone right now, but yes, conversations about what we can do for supporters or people who get in very early, those have been had within the club.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Another question that came in, and then I'll throw it to you guys to ask. We got some more in the rundown here. A banner rising game for USL2 division titles. I know it's it feels like, if I'm understanding correctly, it's almost like one organization dissolves and a new organization starts as you move from the USL2 to USL1. I don't know all the details of that. Maybe that's not the case, but the question of a banner rising to recognize the division titles from previous years.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I can't tell you that we've had that conversation. I know that we'd love as an organization to go out as USL League 2 champions, and that is certainly something that we would embrace. I can tell you that as an organization, we are very much passionate about recognizing the past, and we are very indebted and appreciative of the people that worked with this franchise from the very beginning, whether it was Dr. Magner or anybody from the beginning to now. Like, we talk about them with reverence about how they helped build the club. I mean, it's not just Scott Sprode and DeMarcus Beasley and Mark Music. We understand there were a lot of people that preceded, the people that are working with the organization now, and we continue to recognize the people who helped get us there. And it's not just the people behind the scenes, the players. I mean, every week, I prepare a media guide and it's got, a number of feats that have happened throughout the history of the organization and records and things like that. So I don't think that once we go to USL League 1, we're just going to turn the page and be like, oh, we're starting fresh and we're going to forget about the past. That's not what we're about. And we're trying to build something, and we understand that foundation doesn't begin in 2026. It began years ago.
Yeah. So, and I know you don't have all the specifics in relationship to what the stadium is going to look like or anything like that, but is there a specific supporters section that will be there that will be, I think like people have dreamed about what they would love for it to look like, but will there be a designated section for that, or how's that looking?
Yes. And in fact, if you go to the FAQs, that question is actually answered in some way, shape, or form. Like, we don't know 100% what it's going to look like, or if we do, I'm not in on that conversation, but we will have a supporter section. And one of the things that you should bear in mind as we go through the ticketing process is you're probably going to want to have conversations with our staff, because some people will want to be sitting in those areas,
Yeah.
but we recognize some people will not.
Right.
So we're definitely going to want to work with you to make sure that you get the best seating experience, because like one of the things with the supporter section, just, obviously they're standing the whole time. Right. So that may not be for you, and you want to understand that going in. So we'll continue to unveil that information, as the process develops and as we get to the fall and we get closer to the seating assignments and things like that. But yes, there will be a place for the supporters.
That's awesome.
Love it. So Justin, there's a lot going on, I'm sure, behind the scenes, more than we know, more than we need to know. But as a fan coming to a game next season, beyond the fact that there's a new stadium, new field, can you venture a guess at maybe what the fan experience could be like, or what will fans notice differently about the team next year than maybe we've come to be used to in the most recent seasons?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's some things that I know that are going to be big surprises, and I think welcome surprises. But when it comes to the fan experience, look, I know they want to have a first-class experience. I know they want the seating to be comfortable. They want you to have great sight lines. We're excited about the area of town that we're going into at Bass Road and I-69. As you mentioned, supporters section. And we want to have a great team. Like they're already thinking ahead and building towards next season. I mean, it's no secret that part of the roster construction this year was to take a look at guys and see if they might translate to the professional level. So I think we're thinking about next season on a number of different levels. I don't know if that totally answers your question. But in terms of the fan experience, I mean, I'm not in on all of those conversations, but I know they're putting together a first-class stadium. And not to mention other stadiums, but, we know what Parkview Field meant for downtown. And it wasn't just that there was a baseball team. It was a great fan experience. And I don't think it's a stretch to think we're trying to replicate some of that in a different world, the soccer world here. But, again, I mean, a soccer-specific stadium that's going to be the largest outdoor venue. I mean, that should tell you a lot of what you need to know.
Yeah. I'm excited about this, man. I saw the renderings on the website when you guys started posting the season ticket holder information. Really excited. It does not look like there could possibly be a bad seat in that stadium. Looking forward to seeing what that could look like, what that could be, and actually being there in the atmosphere, that environment, the supporter section that's going to come, bring the, the chants and the drums and all of that just builds the culture and builds the atmosphere there at a game next season in a bigger stadium. So my encouragement, our encouragement to anybody that's out there listening, get out there if you're considering being a season ticket holder, thinking about going to games next year. Get in on the ground floor now. Help build what could be here in Fort Wayne. This could be, Christina says it, this could be a soccer town. This is a soccer town. And let's show the world that we are. And what we can be. So, Justin, appreciate you coming on the show tonight, talking a little bit about that, and more than that, even just really appreciate your partnership in just what we're doing here with Fort Wayne Footy and how we can be supportive of the team there at Fort Wayne FC. Any final words for listeners, viewers, anybody watching?
Well, I just want to thank you guys for what you're doing. I mean, it really does align with what we're trying to do, which is really unite the soccer world in Northeast Indiana. I mean, DeMarcus Beasley's talked about it a lot. Like we don't want to just be a club that's, siloed on its own. Like we want to be unified. One of the first things I did was attend a town hall that we had with all of the soccer organizations in town. And, DeMarcus talked about everything from, academies and, helping to bring up young players. We had Johnny I play for us last week. So, we appreciate what you're doing. I think it aligns with what we're doing. And then the last thing I would say is there's one more home match next Saturday. When you think about it, it's the last match that we will have at Bishop Darcy Stadium. So when you think about that and all the great moments we've had since we've been playing there, I think there's a really good opportunity to get a really good fan experience and have some fun. And that match, no matter how you cut it, I think mathematically it's going to be very meaningful. So I think that's a great opportunity to get your tickets, go to our website and check that one out.
Mhm.
Yeah, no doubt. I think 2 matches left, and that's the last one at home. They play at Dayton on Wednesday night, and we need 4 points to take the league lead to ensure the league lead. And
Mhm.
so it's going to come down to that last game, depending on what Lansing or not Lansing, what Lexington does in their final match. We got 2 ahead of us and got time to make up those points. So looking forward to that. We'll be there as a team, as a podcast team, that final match, cheering on the team out on the pitch. Justin, we'll see you there. And again, thanks for joining us. Thanks for what you're doing.
All right. Anytime. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a great night.
You too.